Welcome to Global Village. We are very glad today we will be filming from Red Roof Studio, and we are very honored both Rita and Colin giving us the occasion filming this program from Red Roof Studio from Dodges. We have two guests today, Michelle Gates and Brad Alexander. Please welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Michelle, you want to tell us a little bit about the corn maze farm?
Okay, the Brooks Corn Maze, we're just a small farm compared to many in the county. And the Brooks Corn Maze has 52 acres, and we do a maze of corn, a field of corn, which covers 7 acres, which you pay an admission fee to go through and get lost. So people pay to get frustrated and lost in our field of corn. It's good family entertainment, and they come for an afternoon. We have other activities there as well for them to play, games to play. We have animals to view, and we also have a U-Pick raspberry operation.
Wow. And you also have what, Halloween programs, events?
Yeah, part of the corn maze is very popular in the fall.
Yeah.
So people like to come this time of year. We have an event for young children on a Saturday afternoon where we have people dressed in costume in the maze, and we call them mild frights and delights, where they hand out treats to young children. And then we also do an older child, teenager, adult night, which we call Zombie Fright Night, which is scheduled for October 22nd, where people come to the maze and zombies come out of the maze to scare you. And we get about 300 people on that event.
Wow.
But it's a good evening, and as long as it's not too cold, to come out and have some fun Halloween time.
So what other events you have? Also, you have events in the summer.
We do other events in the summer. We have, we're open every weekend. So you can come any weekend to go through the maze or to play the games. We have a magnetic fish pond, pasture putt golf. We call something called the human hamster, which is a wheel you roll in.
Wow.
And then we also have the raspberries that you can pick. So we have a flashlight night, which is come to the maze in the dark with a flashlight to find your way around in the dark. And it's like a scavenger hunt in the maze where you look for items. And this particular year we have flags hidden in the maze.
Wow.
And you have to identify which country they're from.
Wow. No, that's very good. Okay, Brad, you want to tell us a little bit about the Alfalfa Seed Commission?
Sure. The Alfalfa Seed Commission is it's a commission of growers who gather together to actually do research and extension work to improve alfalfa seed production in the area.
Wow. So what is the difference between the bee from this side and also the producer from the bee production?
Okay, so the difference between alfalfa leafcutter bees and honey bees is it's really fascinating. Back in the late 50s, it was rather obvious that the alfalfa seed industry was actually dwindling, because as the acreage got bigger, the natural population around the outskirts was less, and they couldn't deal with the extra acres. So they of course tried honeybees for this, but alfalfa has kind of a unique problem where the flower is sort of like this, and when the pollinator comes and sits on the end of the flower, it quickly opens up and flicks that pollinator in the face. Of course, honeybees don't like being flicked in the face, so they quickly learn how to kind of go to the side of the flower and get the nectar without actually tripping it, so pollination wasn't happening. So in the early 60s, they brought in these bees from Europe. They're a lot smaller. I have some here.
Okay.
These ones right here, there's male and female. You can see compared to a regular bee, they're roughly half the size there.
Wow.
Now these bees, they come in and they go to the flower. And when they get hit by that stamen coming out, hitting them in the face, they kind of just shake it off. They're not as heavy as a honeybee, so they don't have as much of a body. They can shake it off a lot easier, which in turn makes them not ornery, and they pollinate quite well.
Wow.
But of course, having a completely different bee, you have to have a completely different system. Honeybees, as you likely know, they have a queen, and everybody works for the queen. And unfortunately, or fortunately, as it were, alfalfa leafcutter bees, every female is a queen. Every female can lay and produce more bees.
Wow.
So they don't congregate as a hive and work for each other. They work for themselves. Actually, I'll show this first.
Yeah.
When you're driving along, often you'll see these tents in the field.
Yeah.
These tents are hives which are housing leafcutter bees. And inside each of these tents, thank you, Michelle, inside each of these tents are these tall blocks.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
These tall blocks, and they have all these holes in there that these solitary bees will actually go into and make their own home. And I know it's hard to believe, but with all these holes in there, they can actually detect their own hole. They come to where it is, and they can use their scent to know which hole is theirs. And they'll fill up a full hole, cap it off, and then move on to the next one with babies for the next year.
Wow. And it's made in Canada
Thank you.
too.
Yes, yeah, that one's made in Canada, of course.
That's good. And what about this guy here then?
This is a design by one of the producers here in Canada as well.
And what's for them?
Sorry?
What's this all about? This is similar to that one or different?
Oh, those are what would go inside of it. I'll show you here.
Yeah.
So this is a scale model of what that would be.
Okay.
It would the bees would go in there. They're protected by the tent from rain or irrigation, and then they're able to fill up the blocks inside.
Wow.
So this is just a scale model of that.
Wow, that's neat.
And of course we have to put a backing on it. So this I'm not sure what you call it, cotton. We had to put this backing and cotton on these because there's of course parasites that will attack the bees, and the cotton does quite a good job. I don't know if the camera is able to see it, but right there is some of that cotton with the parasites actually trapped in the back of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another interesting thing about alfalfa leafcutter bees is a lot of people will, especially if you're living next to agricultural land in southern Alberta, a lot of people will see these on especially lilacs and roses. You get lots of big cut circles out of only the edges. Holes in the middle of the leaf, that's not a leafcutter bee, but they're actually cutting these circles out of the edges of the leaves.
Okay.
And they'll carry that big piece of leaf, compared to their body, it's a rather large size, and they carry that big piece of leaf back to put into this. And then they shove it all in, and I'll show you this again.
Yeah.
They're making these little cells. That's 2 cells there, 1 cell beside it, and each of those cells will be filled with one of these balls of pollen from the top. That's nutrient for the baby growing inside of there, and the baby will eat and grow, and eventually, when the weather's warm enough, it'll emerge as a fully grown adult. So it spends its whole larva life in that little cocoon.
And how long will it take that?
Well, once you start incubating them, it's 22 to 28 days. You can vary it a little bit depending on what you need. So the farmers can actually time the release of these bees with the flower readiness when the flowers are ready to be pollinated. So it's really interesting how they bring it all together like that.
Wow, that is. And what about that guy there?
This is actually the cells. This is what I was showing you earlier. If I can turn it so the camera can see, maybe hard to see.
Yeah.
But these are all baby bees inside of there. You can actually see 2 together. You can break it apart if you'd like. I started incubating these roughly 2 weeks ago, so they'll have another few weeks to go before they come out.
Wow. Wow. And what about this guy here then?
Oh, this I just brought this as an example. When the alfalfa is harvested, the combine will come and take off all of these. Let me open it up here.
Yeah.
All these curls or
Yeah.
these alfalfa seed pods,
Uh-huh.
and then inside each of them
Yeah.
is a bunch of seeds. There's one right there.
Wow.
Hard to tell. So the combine actually has to sieve these
Mhm.
through different layers of mesh, and it breaks up all these pods,
Yeah.
and then hopefully
Yeah.
what you get coming out the other side
Yeah.
is this clean, fresh alfalfa for sprouting and eating.
Wow.
Yeah. Or more importantly, with the Alberta industry, will grow for forage. Almost all feed for animals has alfalfa in some form because of the high protein in it. So
Mhm.
it's a very important crop.
Wow. Wow, that's a process. That's a good process. I think that's far better than 1960s.
A little bit better.
Okay. Yeah, Michelle, you want to talk about the sheep business you have and lamb?
Okay, as part of the corn maze, we have about 80 ewes
Mm-hmm.
for sheep production. So in the spring and in the fall, right now we are having fall lambs.
Mm-hmm.
We usually have just a few. So the lambs are born in the spring and the fall, and then they grow for about 5 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
When they're about 80 to 85 pounds, then they go for slaughter to be produced for food. A lot of different parts of the world eat lamb as lamb chops
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
lamb roasts and
Yeah.
lamb stew and whatever else
Mhm.
is very popular, and we get a lot of requests for lamb production. We don't slaughter any ourselves. We take them to the local packer, one of the small ones in Brooks, and he does the slaughter for us.
Wow. What about the goats?
We're into goats for the first time. We're about to have babies in about 3 weeks. And most moms, sheep and goats, they'll have twins. And generally they can feed 2 babies at a time. So that's very profitable if you get twins instead of a single lamb. So from 80 ewes last year, we had 146 lambs. So
Wow.
nearly all twins.
Wow. That's very good. Yeah, Brad, so what happens to the leaf cutter bees in the winter?
In the winter, so the leafcutter bees, just like any bee,
Yeah.
they work and work and work until their wings fall off.
Yeah.
They want to work. It seems like their mandate, right?
Mhm.
So these bees, once they hatch, they go immediately to producing more bees,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And they work until their wings fall off, roughly 6 weeks. You
Yeah.
can extend it sometimes, maybe to 8 weeks, depending on methods. But they'll fly for about 6 weeks, working really hard, and then die.
Mhm.
And then what we'll do is, these are all in tubes, like little bee cigars, right?
Yeah.
And they're inside this. So there's a machine
Mhm.
that the whole let me do it here. The whole hive will go through like this, and the machine has fingers that just pops them out the back.
Mhm.
First it gets rolled so it's loose, and then they pop out the back into a container,
Mhm.
and then you just store them for the winter. Store them usually people will make an incubation room out of a sea can or some large
Yeah.
object, and they store them for the winter.
Okay.
They'll spend their whole baby life, like I mentioned in there, and in the spring they incubate them. They bring them back up to temperature and they come out.
Wow. Wow, that's neat. So they were born to work, I guess, then.
They're born to work, yes,
There you
absolutely.
go. Okay, Michelle, we do have a lot of newcomers in Brooks area and some in the county. I believe Bassano, Dodge, Tilly, other places in the county. We do have some newcomers. How do you think that we should be able to attract them to the farm areas so they can buy locally and get into the business of local farm? The corn maze is closer in Brooks, that's why when you look about the distance from Brooks to your corn maze farm, I think it's within the vicinity of Brooks. So how do you think we should be able to attract them into that kind of new business to them. They know what farm is all about because they came from background of farmers too.
Yeah. We love visitors at the Brooks Corn Maze, and we're easy for us people to walk to our farm. And that's been a benefit to us. We do get a lot of people who come out to either pick raspberries. You can come for an afternoon and pick raspberries. We sell fresh produce also through the spring. We have peas and beans. In the fall, we have potatoes and carrots and pumpkins. We have pumpkin sales in October.
Wow.
So we advertise in town. We advertise on Facebook.
Yeah.
We have a lot of school groups that come out as well, to youth groups and school groups that come to see what's going on, and it's fun to show the kids, you know, how the garden grows and what different vegetables are. And I'm always amazed that a lot of kids haven't seen even a carrot in a ground nowadays because they're just so removed from gardening or from agriculture. So we would encourage the newcomers to come out to the Brooks Corn Maze, especially for fresh produce and food. We're open August through October. And the other way is for fresh produce in the Brooks area is to go to the local farmers market.
Okay. And also maybe sometime in the future, maybe competition from different flags in your corn maze area might be something that
yeah, we're always looking for new ideas, and we do have you know, youth groups come out and enjoy an evening or an event at the corn maze, and yeah, we would encourage people to come and when the youth groups come, they often divide into groups and make their own competition.
Yeah.
You know, who will come out first, and did you come out the exit and not the entrance? Because some people get turned around and come out the same way they went in. And so, yeah, any of those kind of games and activities, that's what it's fun for. You can picnic there. We have picnic tables. So you can bring a picnic lunch if you want. We do provide a few beverages, and water and pop is available to purchase. But generally, we have people come with picnic lunches and spend a couple hours at the corn maze.
Wow, that's
So you get out of the city,
yeah,
see the countryside.
Yeah.
You can see the corn itself, and then usually you can see our sheep and other animals there. So you can just have a new perspective on where you're living.
Yeah, that's a good idea because we need to encourage also whether newcomer or long-time residents. For them to get into the business of buying local stuff from the farmers, generating the income for within the Newell region. I think that will benefit economic growth for the county, for the city, for everybody. Yeah,
it's a good, you know, bigger farms aren't necessarily set up for people to come.
Yeah.
But we do have, Alberta Agriculture has what's called Open Farm Days in August, and it encourages farmers to participate in that program. So urban people would go out to a farm to see, you know, cattle or branding or, you know, just what do cows eat, where do they go? And that's a program provided by the Alberta Agriculture Department. And this year there were several farms in our area who participated, and it was a lot of visitors at every farm.
I remember there's one in Bassano too.
There was one in Bassano as well. We had over 80 people at the Brooks Corn Maze that day.
Wow.
And we had a haying demonstration. We showed the alfalfa that these little bees are pollinating. You have to cut it for feed in the fall, and we had a baler out there showing people how bales were made, so that they could see how it, you know, you see the stacks of hay in a field, and how do they get formed, right? How do they get produced? So that's just some practical agricultural knowledge for people to see.
Wow. Brad, do you, for example, run out of the need of employee, for example, or you have enough employees, for example, this kind of a job?
Well, the commission actually only has 2 employees, myself and Kendra, who takes care of the books. So.
And do you train, for example, those who might need to be trained, such or graduate from the school training, for example, such?
No, we don't do any training. It's our focus is on research and improving the industry for the future.
Yeah.
So there's no actual training. Other than extension work from our research. We all put out publications with what we find.
Oh, okay. So is it different than the one that by the Medicine College? Or they are,
Yeah, it's different from them.
that's also a research center, I believe?
Yeah, yes, I work with a lot of people from the research center, but I don't work at the research center.
Oh, okay, but you guys have some sort of collaboration then?
I collaborate with many different researchers. Some of them are at Olds College or U of Calgary, but I also collaborate with some researchers at the Horticultural Center.
And just that,
I was just going to say, I think at the Research Center, though, there is the Canadian Cocoon Testing Center,
Oh, there is that. Yeah.
which is part of the Alfalfa Seed Commission, if I'm not mistaken. And maybe you could describe that.
The Canadian Cocoon Testing Center, it's kind of a neat little thing. When you're selling bees,
Yeah.
you want to know from this handful that I take,
yeah,
what percentage is going to have a parasite or what other disease, chalk brood, etc.
Yeah.
And so what they used to have to do is take each individual one out of a sample
Yeah.
and cut it with a razor blade and open it up and see what's inside if they're damaged. Now, of course, when you're doing a lot of bees, it becomes quite tedious. So the Canadian Cocoon Testing Center is at the Horticultural Center, and what they do is they lay all these out in a row on an X-ray plate and put it into the X-ray machine,
wow,
and then we take a picture of it, and afterwards you can actually spot the difference between diseased bees and clean bees. I have an X-ray in my bag just over there. That's too far, maybe.
okay, is it X-ray?
Yeah, there's an X-ray just in that bag there.
Oh, okay, that's very similar to the one they use in there. Is
It's
very
the
similar?
exact same one from there. Yeah.
Okay, so you have collaboration with them then?
We do collaborate. The Alberta Alfalfa Seed Commission oversees the Canadian Cocoon Testing Center.
Okay.
We're not the only body that takes care of it. Of course, there's the Canadian Forage Association and a few other parties that are interested in it. That's why it's a Canadian unit and not just Alberta.
Wow, no, that's a good, I think, information for the public. You guys doing great job because that's food is important.
Yes,
Yeah, for everybody. Yeah.
of course.
Yeah. So, Michelle, you've been in Brooks for a long time, and you've been both. You've seen the farmer side, the other side also. Would you say, for example, it might be a good idea also to have some sort of a newcomers visiting the farm areas sometime in the future, so they will get some sort of a feeling firsthand, for example.
Yeah, I think that might be a way to coordinate something like that through some of the immigration groups and groups in Brooks, such as BCIS or Global Village or SPEC and Link. We'd love to have a group of women and children come out and just enjoy an afternoon if they're home, and come out as a family on a weekend and have some relaxation time after work. That would be great. And I think there's a lot of organizations who could help maybe organize some of those type of excursions, not only to say the Brooks Corn Maze, but to maybe
Farmers.
some other farms as well, to say, this is industrial agriculture in our country and in our county, and just to be familiar with it, because when you drive by and you see a tent like this in the field, you think, well, what would be sleeping in that tent? Well, there's nothing sleeping in the tent but bees, right?
Yeah.
And people don't know that. They're not aware of it.
I'm one of them. Yeah, seen many times, and I don't even know what was this all about. So I thought it was tent. Somebody left it there
Yeah.
for a reason that I could not figure out. But yeah, I think most of newcomers will be able to understand now when they see this tent, because Brad explained to them, and I think that's a good. So, what would you like to tell the viewers in terms of this research on your own that you like to know them, for them to know? If they see this one, probably they will be able to know because you explained. But what message do you have for?
I guess for me, the biggest message that I'd like to give out is when you are looking through your garden
Yeah.
and you see these big oval-shaped cuts in your rose plant, know that it's not necessarily a bad thing, because that bee that's cutting out that little piece of leaf is also pollinating your roses. So
Wow.
it's okay for your plant to sustain a little bit of damage, and then you keep your natural bees helping you out in your garden.
Wow, that's a good information.
Yeah.
Yes, Michelle, what would you like to?
I was going to say, we at our farm as well, bees are important for pollinating our raspberries. We have half an acre of raspberries, and that's honeybees. And when those are being pollinated, the buzz is just phenomenal. You can stand at the edge of the field and just hear the and the whole plant is moving because it's hundreds of bees in there pollinating feed. So bees are very important for pollination of, not only alfalfa seed with leaf cutters, but our fruits and vegetable crops and canola crops and all those things get pollinated by bees. So bees are good. Don't be afraid of them.
There you go. There you go. Now we thank you very much for taking the time to come to Global Village today, and especially Brad. I think you guys are doing a great job in terms of making sure that the food is safe and the research is well done. And we hope to have you next time. And we always keep the tough questions next
Right.
segment. Yeah. But thank you very much, Michelle. As always, we are very honored to have you. And we will visit the area as of this Saturday and next Saturday for the Halloween.
All right.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
This is the end of Global Village for this segment, and we would like to thank both Rita and Colin for giving us the opportunity to air this program today from the Red Roof, and also thank for Shannon, who is our assistant director of the program, and Dave, Michael, who was helping. Until then, this is Ahmed Kasim, the host of the program. Have a good day, and God bless you all.